Okay, everybody, welcome to The Hit. I am Logan Graffia, your host. Usually I have my co-host Calvin with me today, but he is out today, so the next best person I could find was of course my special guest today, Rel, who is one of the co-founders of the Pels 12. Thanks for being here today, Rel.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Calvin, man. I'm taking your spot now. You done messed up.
I didn't say that, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. You very well might, but Pels. Let's talk some Pels. I mean, we all love the
Yeah,
Pelicans. So,
yeah.
in your opinion, what is your feeling about this team going into All-Star break? Where do you think this team is at?
Um, I think that the expectations were a little bit skewered, um, especially considering the way we finished last season. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, we're gonna add Zion into this. Like this is gonna be sick, right? And then it's been sick. It's been sick in a number of ways. But I mean, all things considered, 30 and 29 going into the break at the seventh seed. They're not really far behind being back in third where they were when they started to, lose several games straight and kind of plummet through the standings. So all in all, there's so much context to take into consideration around this team right now. Um, that we can see where the holes are in the roster, but at the same time, it's still a really really good team on paper. It's just, can you translate that to on the court, and most importantly, can you stay healthy? So, all things considered, I think it's definitely not the end of the world yet, but they are running out of time as far as making a push to miss the play in. And I think that was mainly the goal for me this season, is to miss the play in, get top six or better, or not top six or better, but get top six, right? Um, and then go from there, improve from there. But we can't have any more 10-game losing streaks for the rest of the season, though. They gotta whip themselves into shape.
Definitely can't have 10-game losing seasons. I think that's why we're in this predicament that we're in, being in the seventh
Exactly.
seed. But so we get to the trade deadline a little bit before the All-Star break. We
Hmm.
trade Devontae Graham for what people like to call a junkyard dog in Josh
Yeah,
Richardson.
yeah.
This is basically kind of like the similar feeling, in my opinion, that when we traded for James Johnson just a few years ago, but except Josh Richardson's way better than James Johnson.
For sure.
So, what is your opinion on Josh Richardson just thus far on just his little bit of time here?
So that game on Monday, I never did get to like actually watch that game. I might watch it later on today, actually on League Pass. But I caught the first half I caught all his minutes in that Laker game up until he got ejected. And the point that he got ejected is when I turned the TV off. I said, the way this game is going, I've seen enough. I've seen enough. But no, Josh, I knew coming in that he was gonna be a small upgrade, or maybe not even a small upgrade, but just generally an upgrade from Devontae and what Devontae was giving us. I knew Josh was gonna give us um, better defensive effort, and I knew his shooting was there, and the efforts just there overall. And also, he's a vet. I think he's been in the league 6, 7 years, something like that already. So a little bit more tenure than Devontae. He's bigger. That helps too, because we had the small guard situation going on over here. And so I think he really helps with that. And whether they decide to keep him or not, I do hope that they keep him. I know he's an expiring contract, and they traded specifically for that reason, I think. But I think he may earn himself a contract with us. But yeah, we'll see when we get there. But so far, I like what I see.
The one thing I like about Josh Richardson is he's played for two of the greatest coaches out there. I mean, defensive-minded coaches in Eric Spoelstra and Greg Popovich. I mean, you don't just
Yeah,
get minutes on those two teams without having the coach's eyes on you or them catching an eye for you. So I mean, Josh
right.
Richardson for a long time I think has been a very great defensive player. And I honestly, I mean, it was such a small trade, trading away what was it, four second round picks in
Yeah.
Devontae.
That was the thing now. People trading away 4 second rounders and 5 second rounders. And I'm like, is that the new thing? And apparently it is. So I mean, I'm not too upset about it. I feel like the picks turned into players. And as crazy as that sounds, sometimes it's not a good thing. Sometimes you end up drafting guys like Tony Carr or something, you know what I mean? And you
Ooh,
just end up like never using them. So I'm okay with them giving a haul of second rounders up if it means we would get off of Devontae and his contract. Because it just ultimately it just wasn't gonna work out for him. He was better this year on the defensive end, but yeah, it was time for him to go. It was time for another one of them dudes to go, but he's still there. So it's like, they made a move, but they obviously they knew going into it that Zion had a setback. They already knew that. And so once you find out that he had that setback, and you're like, okay, this makes more sense as to why they only made that move and they didn't try to make a big splash. So really, so many things depend on can they get healthy and can they stay healthy, man. It's crazy. It's like that's that big unknown is what's hindering them from making whatever move they really need to make.
Well, I mean, the one player that you said that's still here that should have been gone is Jackson Hayes. I'm just going to let the elephant out out the room. It's no secret, but
It's not just him though, because Billy could have been gone too. They both could have been gone in one swoop. You know what I mean? But
they,
it was either or. It was either one, but then we still kept them both. So I don't really know what's up
I
with that.
prefer to keep Billy over Jackson because at least with Billy, he gives you a double double out there and he doesn't try to
Yeah,
do 360 behind the backs
I get
layups.
it. They're both like not consistent, right? Like you know that sometimes Billy's gonna be able to give you that 20 and 10 off the bench, like just randomly. With Jax, it's gotten to a point where it's not sometimes, it just doesn't happen. But in both of their defense, how can you do that if you don't get the minutes to do it? So it's just I don't think either one of them are really in a good situation for them to succeed or to help the team succeed. So I think we should just move on.
We do definitely need another rim protector off the bench because I mean I don't think
Yeah.
Larry is he's not a true center, but I absolutely love Larry.
I don't like the small ball thing that we keep trying to do. And it's like we need an actual backup center. But if we get one that is reliable, are we even going to put them out there and give them the minutes? I don't know if that's like necessarily what the coaching staff wants to do. So it's like, should they even try to make a move for something like that when you know that the guy's probably not even going to play? You know?
That's a good point. So going forward, what does this team need to do better? I mean, I'm sure that's better said than done, but what does this team
Yeah.
need to do better going forward to actually just make that push to the sixth seed at
Yeah.
the least?
I had a coach when I played in AAU that I absolutely could not stand. But one thing that he said that remains true is that defense wins games, defense and free throws. They have to be out there boxing out and crashing the boards. Like people will be killing JV for being down there, banging in the paint, and he might not get a rebound because he's sealed. But then our wings are just standing looking like, oh dang, they got the rebound. Let's go run. Like, bro, y'all have to. Everybody's got to pitch in on defense. Everybody's got to pitch in. So, I think that's where it starts. It starts on the defensive end because we have no issues on offense. Well, okay, hold on. Let me not say that. Our issue on offense is that I don't think we know what we want to do on offense. When Zion's playing, the offense is give him the ball and get out the way. When he's not playing, the offense is let Bi and CJ take turns doing ISOs. So I think that we definitely need to move the ball more on offense. I don't think that we have an issue scoring, but it's like, Bi shooting over 2 and 3 guys at a time, and he's got, a game where he had 14 potential assists. He didn't get anywhere near that number of actual assists because dude's not knocking down shots. So having Zion back out on the court would help with that with the spacing, but it's like, how much more open do you need to be to make the shot, right? So they need to box out. They need way more intensity on defense. And they need to move it out the ball on offense for sure. So there's a couple of things that they definitely could stand to work on, but they're professionals and they got to just remain professionals. And in off season, work on the things that you can incorporate into your game, right? I want to say in the off season or when they first came back, they asked Jackson what he was working on in off season, and it was everything that he didn't need to be working on. Like he working on corner threes and like whatever else instead of working on boxing out and setting the proper screen and crashing the boards. So things like that. Guys got to get more professional, get a little bit more serious.
Especially on the defensive end. I mean, playing football most of my life, I mean, I played on the defensive side of the ball, and one of my coaches, I think when I was very young, said this, and it's always been instilled in my head. offense scores points, but defense wins championships. And I mean, that's
Yeah.
true for all sports, including
Yeah.
basketball. So, speaking of rim protectors that we just talked about, do you expect the Pelicans to be buyers in the buyout market at all for like a rim protector? I mean, Nerlens Noel is out there. I mean, fans have been clamoring for us to go get him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in your opinion, do you expect this to go after anyone in the buyout market or just stay put?
I expect them to stay put. I feel like if they weren't able to move Billy or Jack to the trade deadline, I don't imagine them cutting either one of them or cutting Garrett Temple now just to go sign some dude off the buyout market. Um, because like I said, even if they did get Nerlens Noel, are you gonna even play him? So it's like, why would we even make these moves if you're not gonna do anything with the pieces that you get? So I think they're gonna stay put. I think that they'll try to make a move for somebody maybe in the off season. Um, or maybe either free agency or like make a trade on like draft day, something like that. But as far as the buyout for this season, I don't think that they'll do anything.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Nerlens Noel, but it's like you said, it's the minutes. I mean, because I
Yeah.
think we heard Will in the press conference. He was asked about like the backup five spot, and he always said Larry's going to be that backup five every time. But I mean, small ball doesn't really work all too often. I mean, I think the
It
last
don't.
time. I mean, I think that might be Mike D'Antoni's hand in that because when he was in Houston, he tried to make PJ Tucker a center. I don't know. I'm sure you
He
remember that.
did. Yeah. So is then Tony, is he somebody brought him up the other day. Is he still around? Like, or was that just like a
So
1 year thing? I haven't seen him.
I have not seen him on the bench, but I went looking, and I mean, I don't. Wikipedia is not accurate, but I
Yeah.
mean, I went on
Yeah.
Wikipedia, and it still has him as a coaching consultant for us. But
Okay.
I mean,
I guess the
he
best
very
course
well.
would be to like Google and find the article about when he signed and see if it was like how many years that he was agreeing to come and consult for. I guess that would be the best way to try to figure it out. But yeah, no, the small ball thing, it can work, but it can't be something that you depend on like every single game. Like teams like Cleveland in Utah, ain't gonna work, man. Like when other teams have two good like athletic bigs, we're toast. It's not it's not working.
We look like a
So
JV team when we was going up against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, both on
it
the court at the
sucks.
same time. I
It
mean, those
sucks.
two 7-footers right there when we only have one.
I was in
So,
physical pain all night.
uh,
Uh,
I was very heartbroken during that game. It just goes to
yeah.
show you. I mean, you can do it big. I mean, it just makes me think of what could have been like back in the day with like AD and Boogie. Because I mean, what teams are doing now is what
Man.
we were doing back during that
Yep.
time.
We started
And
it. They trying to do Carl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. We started it, man, and it all was messed up by Boogie chasing down a free throw that he didn't even really have to chase down like that. So
mm,
I've gotten to a point now where with the dudes we have now, with the injuries and the amount of games they're missing, I'm afraid that this is just going to end up being one big what if era, just like the Boogie and AD thing, where it was like, man, what if he would have never did this? What if so and so would have never missed, 20 some odd straight games and things like that. So they just tend to make me so nervous with things like that, but at the same time it's like, I'm just a bystander. I can't do anything about any of it. I'm gonna go to the games and I'm gonna be mad when we lose and be happy when we win, and that's it. That's all I can do.
with the injuries that we are always dealing with. I mean, Zion, in your opinion, I know
Mm,
that David Griffin said we expect to see him a few weeks after All Star break, but in your
yeah.
opinion, what game on the schedule can you honestly expect him back?
I haven't looked at that part of the schedule. And my main issue with the whole he's going to be out for an additional several weeks or be out for at least an additional month. My whole issue with that is what I think is going to end up happening is he's going to end up ready, but if he hasn't played in, 2 months, 3 months, do you really want to drop him into high stakes, almost playoff basketball, just trying to get us into the playoffs? Or do you want to play it safe like last year and say, you know what, let's just let him keep sitting out and then we'll come back next season? Because the amount of caution that we've seen come from the training staff or the medical staff, I'm not confident that they're gonna let him back out there, even if he feels like he's ready. So um it sucks because he wants to play, but will they let him play when that time comes? Because I don't think we'll see him until April, to be honest. So yeah, again, nervous.
Always, there's always this nervous feeling when it comes to this team and injuries,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Zion. Because I mean,
Hmm.
I would love to see him back for that March 14th Lakers game. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
a month away, so we don't know. I mean, a few weeks could be a
Mm-mm.
month. I mean,
He ain't
I'm
gonna
cautious.
he ain't gonna play. It's too much. Like, especially if he suffered a setback. I feel like that means, okay, now you can't. You either can't do nothing, or you got to go back to like doing one on ones. Because I think he made his way up to what, like 3-on-3s or
It
something
was
like
three
that.
on three, and then he re-aggravated it.
Do other teams do that, bro? Do they just start with non-contact and do one on one, 2-on-2? Is it just us?
I don't know. That might be the protocol, but I have no idea. That's something I'm sure
I gotta
that
start
you and
paying
I
attention.
we gotta start. I guess we gotta
I
look
gotta
into
start
that
paying
because I have
attention.
no idea.
Cause that stuff, like, that takes a minute too. So like, let's say he's like quote unquote ready, but then you got to go through all these different steps, and a lot of the times you're not gonna be able to get in practice. Like, we was waiting on Bi to come back. He needed to get a full practice in, but if you're playing every other day, or if you're on a road trip or whatever have you, there is no practice. So when is there gonna be, like, they have shoot around obviously, but when is there gonna be a chance for him to have practice and have enough practices to where he can do one on one all the way through 5-on-5 and get back on the court and it not be already the playoffs or the play in. So I don't know how they're gonna be able to figure this out, man.
I just have no more words when it comes to injuries on this team because I mean, it just seems like it hits us every single year. It seems like since the Chris Paul era ended, it's just been this way. I
Yeah,
mean, after the Chris, I mean, we had to deal with Eric Gordon not only not wanting to be here, but him being injured almost every other day.
exactly.
Then then you had, I mean, we traded for Tyreek, and then he was injured almost every other game. And then you get to the AD era. I mean, he's street clothes, and I mean he's like glass bones, paper skin, like the guy from
Mm,
SpongeBob. And
it's
then we get,
nuts.
I mean, it just never. It feels like it never ends.
People, I don't like Anthony Davis, and I'd rather him be healthy and be out there losing. And I feel like there's a lot of people who will take joy in him like missing games and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not super big on like karma and things like that, but I just find
Oh,
it interesting that we would get rid of one street clothes to essentially have two. But the crazy thing about it, they're different types of injuries. Like, AD wasn't playing through nothing. Bi is playing through a hurt toe. Zion can't play through a hurt hamstring because you just can't. Like, Devin Booker tried, and we see how that ended up for him. Like, you just can't. So they're missing games for like real reasons. They just have terrible luck that they just keep getting hurt. But with AD, it was like, okay, bro, like, you can play through that. Like, let's be for real. So, people will say that we traded in one street clothes for two, but I don't think it's necessarily the same. There's a lot of context around that too that's missing.
I absolutely agree. I mean, with AD, it just seems like, oh, he sprained a pinky or some type of finger injury, or it would be something to the effect that's like, really? They have people that's playing on like, mildly sprained ankles right now, and you're going to be out for 2 months. I mean, really? Come on now. I mean, a
Mhm.
hamstring strain, wow, that's a tongue twister for me, is really, you got to be careful with these things. Just means like you brought up Devin Booker.
Yeah.
He tried to play on it, then he was out for a while. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, in the football sense, on the Saints side, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore dealt with that most of the season. He missed, I think, 7 to 8 games, if I'm not
Dang.
mistaken. I mean, 7 to 8 games. That's 7 to 8 weeks in the NFL. I mean,
Yeah, that's a long.
so
Yeah.
hamstrings, you can't be too. I'm fine with them being cautious, but sometimes I feel like this team is overly cautious. But with Brandon Ingram, I mean, a contusion is just a bruised toe for people that want me to simplify it. I mean, I'm not trying to say that's a a soft injury, but it's just like
Yeah,
it seems like the theme of this year. I mean, when you read certain injury reports, contusion has been the theme for a lot of teams this year.
yeah. I the West is so like stacked and the race is so tight. I can't help but wonder like the Clippers, what are they at right now? They're probably
I think
fourth,
they're at
fifth
the
seed,
five
something like
seed.
that. Imagine, what they would look like if they had PG and Kawhi for like this whole season instead of Kawhi missing however many games he missed. Um, and who else? I think if you looking at the standings, I don't think Michael Porter Jr. missed like too much time this season. But for the most part, all these teams got like at least one of their top two stars that have missed like a ton of games. Like Memphis, Desmond Bain missed a bunch of games. Sacramento, I think for the most part, they've been intact. Um, Clippers were missing somebody. Phoenix was missing Devin Booker for a long time, and they got I was about to say KG. They got KD, but he's been out for a bit too. Dallas, they only had Luca, and for the most part, he continues to play. Of course, you get down to us, the number 7. We know what the story is with that, and then Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns hurt himself. What, in November or December, something like that? He
It
had a
seems like
calf
he's been
strain.
out. It seems like he's been out the whole season.
He ain't played since, man. And that injury looked a little bad. I thought that it was going to be like an Achilles, but they said it was his calf, I think. So, whatever he did to that calf has been serious business because he's been out for like at least 2 months, maybe 3 at this point. So, um, under them is Golden State. Golden State's got Steph in and out of the lineup. A lot of their guys weren't playing back to backs. They were just punting a lot of games, especially on the road. Um, OKC made it into 10th. So that's cool for them.
Hey, they're in 10th, and then you got the Lakers that's like in 13th still. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
they're in
honestly
13th.
wild.
The Lakers are a game and a half behind Portland. And right now, okay, yeah, the last game, obviously the Lakers won, they beat us, and then Portland lost their last game. So yeah, they're a game and a half behind Portland. The next team behind the Lakers is 13 games behind them. So San Antonio and them is not catching up. So the Lakers are basically at the bottom of teams that are trying to fight into the play in. So um it's still anybody's game, as far as getting into that play-in goes and getting into the playoffs, getting to top 6. So if everybody was healthy though, can't help but imagine what that would look like.
I mean, we got to see it 10 games, I want to say. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember I had to work a concert at the St. Louis Cathedral on opening night for the Pelicans against the Nets. And I'm just
Hmm.
listening to it in my ear as I'm working, and all I can hear is CJ for three, BI. Oh my goodness. And you got Zion going crazy. I'm just thinking, I missed that. We only got to see that for 10 games, and then, BI gets hurt against Utah, and then next thing you know, BI comes back, Zion's injured. I can remember when I saw Zion get injured. It was at the end of the OKC game, or I can't. I think it might have been OKC.
Hmm.
And when pulled up and started limping, I'm like, oh no, that can't be good. But when he pulled up,
Man,
I'm like, please just let that be like a cramp or something. And then he's been out with a hamstring strain.
that was Philly. That was a
That
Philly game.
that was Philly. I knew it
Yeah.
was blue. That's why I'm thinking, okay,
I had to think about it real
OKC.
because we had played Philly at home and we beat them at home, and then the very next week, right after New Year's, we played them on their court. And yeah, I want to it was like a third quarter, something like that. He was like dribbling and he just like stopped. He's like,
He
nah,
just
here, take the
stopped.
ball. Take the ball. This
He
don't feel
passed
good.
it out for a score, and he just walked straight
Yeah.
to the locker room.
I feel like he was going so hard. Like December was fire. And obviously this happened on January 2nd, but December was fire. He was like taking over games and that Minnesota game, the last 3 minutes of the game, he just went
Ooh.
off, scored like 14 straight. Like I think he was overexerting himself, which led to him, stressing that hamstring a bit.
I honestly can agree with you, but let's see. Let's go to the off season. So
Yeah.
let's look at the draft. I don't know if you've been looking at any draft prospects, but
Not really.
so okay, if you just could name one that you think that the one that's caught your eye, just one. What's one
Yeah.
draft prospect that you think can help this team right now?
Um There's I only know maybe like 6 names, right? And none of these guys I've really been able to. watch play except for like I watched one game when Victor Wembanyama played. Um, I've seen no games from like Grady Dick. I've been hearing a lot about him, but I've never seen him play. And Brandon Miller, who I think plays for Alabama, I've never seen him play either.
Hmm.
But we clearly have a type as far as getting these Alabama guys. I mean, Kyra, Herb, even what? Not John Butler, the other John, John
uh,
Petty, John
John
Petty.
Petty, yeah, I'm
All
a
those
big fan of him.
Alabama guys, like we clearly have a type. So it sounds like the Brandon Miller guy may be a good fit, but yeah, I haven't seen him play or many of the other guys. I don't watch a lot of college ball. It's just I don't really like the game. I don't like the way the game is played in college. It's weird, and it sounds like the most pettiest thing, but I hate the way the rims sound. That like when they miss, it's like the most obnoxious boing. Like why is the mics? Why are the mics so hot on the rims? Why are there mics at all? Just take it away.
Sounds like
I
a
hate
double
it.
rim.
I don't like it. So yeah, I don't like the way the game is played in college. So I just don't watch it a ton. But I'm of the mindset that I don't think there's very many 19-year-olds in the world year after year who I want to come in and try to like save my franchise, right? Like Zion is a generational talent. Victor Wembanyama could also be a generational talent, but like any of these other dudes, I'm not super interested in it. I mean, like getting a guy like Dyson. Dyson wasn't like this insane like offensive player coming out of the draft, and I always wonder how do other teams end up picking these dudes who are like not complete, but they have something on both ends of the floor. Whereas we always end up getting guys who are way better on defense than they are on offense. Like, and we talked about defense wins games, but like, can we get somebody who can score and defend? Like, can we do that?
I absolutely agree. So let's stick with the offseason. In your opinion, I know we already discussed it previously, but is center is a rim protecting center the number one need for this team right now?
I would say yes. I would say yes. In the event that anything ever happened to like JV's only missed one game this season, right? But in the event that he had to miss extended time, I don't think that we'd be able to trust putting Billy out there against like most of the centers in the league. And then Jax can't play the five. He's the height of a five, but he can't play the five. Last year he did extremely well. We put him at the four. So and now if we can only play him at the four, and you basically have Zion playing the four, you have Trey Murphy playing the four, and every now and then Larry might play the four next to JV for like 2 minutes, but there's no minutes for him there. I think that yeah, a backup five, some rim protection. If the dude can shoot some threes, that'd be great too. Space the floor a little bit, right? So when JV when JV takes his first three attempt at the game, I get really excited because if it goes in, it's gonna be one of those nights. If it goes in, he's hitting at least five of them, right? If he misses the first one, I know off rip, it's not happening tonight. He's going back inside. So yeah, I've been going back and forth a lot between do we want like, more shooting or do we want a rim protector? I think the best case scenario would be a rim protector who can also knock down the three if need be, but we don't have to rely on them to do that.
Man, I can't argue with any of that because I really truly believe like once Jonas goes to the bench, then there's Larry at the five, and I just don't think that works all that well, depending on the team. I know we
Mhm.
discussed this already, but you need a true center.
Yeah.
You need a true 7 foot center, okay, or 6'11", whatever, rim protecting center. I mean, Jonas Valanciunas type of centers just don't grow on trees. I understand that, but
Hmm.
you have to go find one. I mean, maybe you'll find one in free agency. I don't know who's going to be available, but I mean, I
Right.
really truly believe that you need somebody like that coming off the
Yeah.
bench.
It's not the biggest like free agency destination here, right? So it's like we kind of have to start using these picks to make some trades and get some guys in here. But like we have this habit of turning up our nose at guys that are like older and more seasoned, and we're just like, oh no, so and so is old, and they're not really like they're kind of washed, right? So like JaVale McGee came up and people were like, no, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, I would think again about it because he's a serviceable backup big. The dude's got a couple championships under his belt. Um, he knows how to play the game. And if you're asking me, do I want him to be my backup big or Billy, I'm probably gonna choose JaVale, bro. Like it just is what it is. Like I know for the most part what I'm gonna be getting from JaVale if I put him out there. And then Kevin Love came up. And then people are like, yeah, I think I want to do that. And it's like, well, I don't know. He sounds cool too. He's a what, 5-time All-Star or something like that. Um, there was a weird situation going on with him, um, where he was starting to show some frustration in the games in Cleveland, like with the younger guys. And that went on for a little while, but then all of a sudden it looked like he bought in and he was having a good time there. But suddenly they, kind of moved him out of their rotation. So when we heard the news break about him, it clearly said, and he would probably go to an Eastern Conference contender, and everyone's like, "Oh, we should get him." And I was like, "Are you guys missing the part where it says Eastern Conference contender? It don't say West, nothing about the West."
We're not in
And
the East yet, y'all.
like, I just, are you guys? Everybody was skipping over that part, so it's like, even if we did get him, who are you gonna get rid of to get him? And why do you think that they're willing to get rid of anybody to bring anybody in? So that's why I think they're not even gonna do anything, because it's like we saw what they did at the deadline. Why do we think that they're gonna drop everything um to go get Kevin Love? And then Russell Westbrook. People are
No,
talking about Russell Westbrook, and it's like,
no.
hey man, Russ, I feel like he's gotten so much unfair treatment. It was crazy last year. I looked at his stats and I would have thought that this man was averaging like 6 points a game. He was averaging like 18 points, however many assists, whatever have you. Obviously, he's not averaging a triple double anymore because he's not in a position that he was previously in where he could do that. So do I think that Russ will be a better backup point guard than Kyra Lewis Jr.? Yes, bro. Like so, but are they gonna? They're never gonna be able to give him as much money as he wants. He might not even be a good fit with the guy's personality wise or whatever other fit that they need to see. Who knows, man? But I'm interested to see where guys like him end up. I think Kevin Love's going to end up going to Miami, but Russ might end up going to the Clippers. Which the Clippers, everybody talk about the new look Lakers. The Clippers got a new look too. They
Oh,
just got
absolutely.
Eric Gordon, Bones Highland. They got
Plumlee.
Plumlee. Yeah,
Plumlee.
man, that's nuts. And if they get Russ too, it's like okay, well, all right, new look Clippers. The look is complete, So. I'm still not afraid of like teams like the Clippers. I feel like the Pelicans can take anybody to 6 or 7 games as long as they're healthy.
I
And that's
agree.
the thing. Now it's a full circle moment. Now we're back in the beginning. As long as they can stay healthy.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think Russ is gonna probably go to the Clippers. Kevin Love's going to Miami because, like you said, people kind of don't have people apparently have a problem with reading,
Yeah.
and we're not in the East yet.
Nope.
But Kevin Love going to Miami. I mean, that could be deadly. I mean, Miami's already a good team.
Miami started out the season kind of weird. They looked real fraudulent and unserious. And then somewhere along the way, they kind of started stringing some things together, and they look much better now. But um, as far as the East, I think Boston and Milwaukee got things on lock over there. So Miami can try, but I don't think that they will succeed.
Okay, so Rel, before we go, I just have to
Yes.
get your this one last question in for you.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, hypothetically, say everyone on this team is healthy after Zion gets back for the rest of the season and playoffs. What seed do you think the Pelicans will finish at?
Uh, okay. Absolutely best case scenario, and also factoring how other teams are trending upward, like Phoenix. I think they could potentially get to fourth. I think they were in third when Zion got hurt. I think they could potentially get back to fourth. So right now, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth is Sacramento, Clippers, Phoenix, Dallas. Dallas got better. Basically, everybody got better at the trade deadline. Sacramento didn't do anything really, but all those three teams between us and Sacramento, they all got better at the deadline. So we kind of got to look over our shoulder and watch out for Golden State. Um,
Always.
per usual. Um, they're probably going to try to. I would assume they want to try to miss the play in. Like they kind of been trying to coast a little bit, but I would assume they don't want to do it the play in and they'd rather get to six. So we just got to take care of business. But it's going to be so many games that are going to be lost not lost, but so many games that we won't have with Zion that will hurt us. But essentially, now they are the same exact team that they were last season with just a little bit extra in Devontae's spot where you get Richardson. And then they have Dyson too, but his ankles are like turned to dust. I don't know what's going on with him. So he's out for at least another week or so. But they never gave us a timeline on him from jump. Like, so these are just things that I've learned from people who like ran into Dyson out in the street or things like that. So he's at least a week out from returning. But again, they probably be cautious with him too. So maybe he'll be another 2 weeks. So I would say they could get back to fourth, hopefully. I want home court advantage. Absolutely. Like I would hate to play a team like Memphis or Sacramento and not have home court advantage, because for teams like them and us, that home court advantage is going to be like extremely important, because all three of us play good on our floor, but they play better on their floor than we do on ours. So I'd rather get to fourth for sure.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you filling in for Calvin today, even though that was not the plan at all. But I think this was a tremendous show. And of course, I mean, you're a busy person, so I appreciate you taking the time
Thanks,
to
man.
stop by and hang out. Before we go, tell everyone where they can reach you and watch all your podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I actually have a link tree. My link tree screen name is just at Rel Myers, RELMYERS. And that is also the same name for my socials on Twitter and TikTok too. So you guys can look me up on Linktree and get to all my links and stuff on there. I'm doing the Pels and Whistles podcast on the BLEAV network, and we release episodes probably like 2 times a week normally. So with the break and everything, we only did one this week. We'll do one next week, but we'll be back to 2 times a week pretty soon. But yeah, I'm just podcasting and posting videos on TikTok, man. I'm talking to fans, visiting fans when they come into the blender and stuff. So it'll be a while before we get back in the blender for some things like that. But I'm curious to see. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. So if you guys follow me along in that adventure. We'll have a good time together. I try to keep things positive in general. So if you're looking for some positivity, follow me.
Well, again, Ro, can't thank you enough, and I appreciate every last one of you for watching. Be sure to like us, subscribe, and don't forget the most important thing: share, share, share. Once again, thank you guys for watching this special edition of The Hit. We shall see you next time.